All right, here we are live again. There we go. Looks like our stream is up now. Okay. So today, again, I'm working on a track that I have not seen yet. This time it's a Glenn Case track, so this will be a little bit different because this one is not as much starting from scratch. This one, it's more of a full arrangement, and I'm mostly sweetening. I did notice he didn't have any drums on it, so I'll probably be adding drums, but I have not listened to this yet, so let's take a look here. It is called A Little Old Lady, and he says it's 102 beats a minute, so we'll go ahead and set that in the fixed tempo right there. And let's see here. Okay, so he has a demo, which is going to be stereo for sure. And let's drag, all right, we'll just open one real quick and see how, okay, these are mono. So let's add a single stereo track here. And we'll drag his demo in. Always name your tracks, kids. And yes, we want to drag that at measure 45. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to push it back to the beginning. Why are we at measure 45 to begin with? I suspect it has something to do with me playing around with Cubase earlier. I'm probably going to be adding some guitars and stuff, so I was playing around with recording them, and I'm not sure how that's going to go with voice meter and the streaming. It was being difficult, so we'll see what we get. Okay, so we have our demo there, and as I say with the MP3s, you're always going to have to drag it back a little bit. So he's left plenty of air at the beginning for us. So, and I'm going to guess that that's probably going to start pretty much on time. So we'll get that right there, and let's see what we get. Turn on our click. It's working. Okay.
Headed out for a walk, happened upon this shop.
Oh, okay, so I love Glenn's writing. Glenn writes some good chords and melodies and words, all the essential pieces of good songs. So let's take a look here at these separate parts. We got bass, through 4 vocal tracks. Oh my gosh, Glenn. And then 2 guitars. So not a lot in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks that we need. So I've got 6 here. My default is always the 6 tracks with the 2 effect sends for echo and reverb. I've mentioned in previous streams. What am I doing? Why am I doing that? That is not how you add tracks in Cubase. Oh my goodness. Mono. Let's go ahead and add let's just add another half a dozen tracks. Make the rainbow bigger. Oh, and of course they all went down there. Dun, 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 dun. Let's just drag these guys up here. Okay. Now we can get these. These are all on the other monitor. You don't see them, but that's not a big deal. We'll just drag them right in here, and then you'll get to see them. Okay, and I turned off Quantize, so I'm just going to drop these where they fall. We want them on different tracks, of course. And it's pulling up this copying thing. Oh man, it's pulling up this copying thing because I have it copy the audio files I don't want it to reference the original location because I'm going to delete that folder at some point. So I always have it copy the files into the Cubase folder into its working directory. Let's take care of this. I forgot. Oh, that sounds so good, I'm sure. There, that should be less poppy now. Okay. So let's name these. We got some bass. I'm just going to call the vocal ones V, V2, V3, V4. Then we get and then we'll get Glenn Get again. And it's, I'm not sure how he recorded these. Okay, so let's turn our Quantize back on and get these lined up with the beginning. They should line up with the demo. That looks pretty good. Looks like the bass and guitar both hit right on the downbeat. Honestly, I don't really need the demo that much at this point. I would if I were working with something where there were where I didn't have all the elements, or where I was working from, working from different bits and pieces. But in this case, the demo is literally just the contents of all of this stuff, but mixed down. So he's got an example of how he would mix it. So I may refer back to that, but I'm not that worried about the mix, to be honest, because that's not what I'm doing here. Oh no, you're buffering, High Score Club. High Score Club is Glenn. So let's look at this. Let me check out real quick and have a look at the stream to see if the buffering is. Let's look at this. Let me check out real quick. Have a look at the stream. Have a look at the stream and see if the buffering is. And then we row your boat gently down the stream. And see if the buffering is. Okay, it seems like it's not buffering here. So hopefully it's only buffering for Glenn, and you guys can see me okay. Please pipe up if if you're ever having any issues seeing us. Okay, back to the music here. What I'm noticing, I'm not sure, maybe Glenn can tell me, these guitars seem like they were awfully direct, as though whoa, what's going, wow. Here's a new feature of Cubase, guys, that I didn't even know about. If you hold Control and scroll over the title of the track, it'll scroll it back and forth like this. Never had occasion to find out about that feature. I'm learning new things all the time. You never know everything. Okay, so let's listen to this guitar here. I don't need that click right now. That's not what I want to do. I want that. Okay, so these don't, I'm hearing some crackling, and Glenn gets these really good, like, clean channel dirty sort of sounds. So this seems to not be that. This seems to just be a straight guitar plugged direct into his interface. So what that means is it's going to need an amplifier put on it. So let's do that. One thing I've noticed working with Glenn's tracks in particular is he gets, like I said, these really nice clean channel, dirty but not super heavy, but kind of jangly, dirty tones. And what I've noticed is if you take that sort of gnarly, spiky tone, and then you combine it with like a nice, more sort of well-behaved Marshall-y sort of crunch, but leave that way in the background, that it sort of brings out a little more of the tone and fullness that his guitars have, without taking any of the focus away from them, which is kind of what we want. We don't want to take the focus away from that sound, but we want to support it. So I may be adding some guitars to do that. And Glenn says, I'm welcome to change the tone as I like. And oh, I will. Let's see what we want to do with these. If you're using Cubase, for some reason, they stick their amp simulator in the distortion section. This amps section is something I've added. I keep all my VSTs organized. I'll show you what you do. Is you make a folder on your computer called C VST plugins or VST, and just throw everything in that and make folders to organize it as you like. That way it makes it easier, whatever DAW you're using, to go back and find those. Okay, so back to Cubase. It's in the distortion section for some reason. Like I said, I put all the ones that I've installed in there, or all the amps I put in my amps folder. But this VST amps rack, I believe, is what we're going to go with for him. And I think what I want to do is, let's get, oh no, we don't want that. We want all of the things. Let's delete that. There we go. Okay, so they give you all of these different presets and things, which can be kind of useful. In his case, this Blues Deluxe might actually be what we want. Let's give that a sound. And we can also go over to this master and see where he's recorded it at just about the perfect level. But it does look like he's clipped. If you look at the waveforms here, let me just drag this off screen for a second. If you look at this waveform, it's hard to tell for sure, because he's got an excellent recording level. Like I said, he's got a great recording level. It's coming up right in that window that we want. Let's come back to this, because I think that might be the way we want to go with this tweed sound. But let's... now, here's a little bit about guitar recording. When I record, whether I'm using a real amp, whether I'm using a fake amp or a processor or whatever, what I want to do is capture a big, rich, full guitar sound. There are different ways of doing this, different schools of thought, and if you have a different preference, there's nothing wrong with that. But what I like to do is capture a good, big, rich sound. So if you're working with yourself, or if you're working with another guitar player, when you're working with as a producer with other guitar players, let them get their sound. It may be big, it may have way too much bottom, it may have too much high. Let them get their sound, because that's how you're going to get their best performance out of them when they're comfortable. And that goes for whether you're the one playing or whether someone else is playing. Let them get a good tone that they're happy with, so that they can play and give you a solid performance, because that's ultimately the most important thing. If you have to, if their sound is super weird and you know that you're not going to get it to sit in the mix, take a direct line out, get what we've got here from Glenn, which is just guitar straight into the board, and then we can reamp it later. But here's what we're going to do with this particular situation. I like this big, rich sound. It's too big to fit in the mix. It's not going to sit right. So I know that I'm going to do some EQing to cut out some lows to give the bass room to breathe and walk around underneath it. But I'm not going to cut them here. At this point in the game, what I really want is just a good guitar sound. Now, what I will probably do is kill the reverb. And I'll probably, when I get around to exporting it, I'll export it dry so that Ty or Tanner can put their own reverb that they choose on it. But what we can do right here, and see, here's where Cubase is going to be see how it's picking up the microphone? It's going to be an issue when I want to record guitars. I'll have to mute the mic and not be able to talk to you guys. I'll go back to using Notepad and type at you. So let's get back over here. What we want to do is nice thing in Cubase, just copy and then paste. And now it has that on both of the guitars, and we're just going to hard pan these for now. I may come back. I probably only want to go about 80-90%. I've talked about that before. Creating the illusion of space and putting things in the sound field. Panning does less than you think it does. Panning is not natural to us. You hear the same sound coming at the same time from two different places. Your ears really have trouble pinpointing which spot it's coming from. It either sounds like it's coming from one, the other, or the middle. You really, if you're not sitting dead center in the speakers, the panning really doesn't do as much as you would hope for. So let's take a look at this. Let's get these guitars, and we may want to change them a little bit, but generally we want them to sound probably like the same guitar, just panned out. So let's see what we got here. And see what we've got now is we've got them panned out 90% to either side. What that's going to do is it's going to make it so that if you're listening in headphones, you're not hearing it just on one side and just on the other. When I export them, I'll probably export them to individual tracks. Ty could do it however he wants. But right now we've got them panned most of the way out, and then the reverb glues them together in the middle. But because the reverb hits your ear after your original signal, it gives you that big, wide, spacious sound that we're after. So we get this. And you get this nice thick sound. Now, like I said, when we get the bass mixed in, that's probably going to need to lose some lows just to keep everything playing nicely together. Speaking of bass, let's come back and we can talk about some secrets of bass. Let's see, I believe he recorded that probably the same way. I'm hoping. Let's see what we got here. That is a very direct bass. Good. Okay, so what I want to do with that is, again, put it through an amplifier. This is a secret trick of mine. FA3 amp. This is called Free Amp 3. And it is free. And this thing for bass is super, super fun. It's got lots of guitar presets as well. Here's an issue with Free Amp 3. If you open more than one instance, it crashes. Maybe you have better luck than me, but for me, whenever I open a second one of these, it will crash and it will ruin it will like take the whole project out with it. But I never have multiple bass guitar tracks, so it's safe to use. Now let's take a look here. We can do, they've got all these guitar amps, little guy, clean on 10, 410 crunch. My go-tos are, as far as the presets that it comes with, are Snappy, and the one under it, the Sature, which is just kind of a dirty. I feel like that's probably where we're going to go. Now let's disable and listen. So here's his bass. There we go. I don't need to hear my own microphone there. So that's the sound of just his bass. Now what I'm feeling here is we need this. Now notice that is now clipping on output, so let's bring this mic trim down. Let's get that back under control. There we go. Now he's got kind of a dark sound going on here, so we're going to give it some highs. We're going to cut a little mids. There, I'm liking what I see there on the meters a little better. It's a nice groove. This is definitely going to get drums. I'm probably going to play drums on this. This one's going to be too much fun to pass up. That's not going to happen today. I will probably practice the song a little bit because I am not a great drummer, but I will get the job done. So come back to this real quick. I'm probably going to play drums on this, but I'll probably do that at a later date. But we're going to add some drums in here as placeholders just so we can get things so we know what we're doing, working with the other elements. Let's pull this guy up here. And notice how steep that drop off is, that we get that real dark sound. And most of the time when I'm doing bass stuff, I like the low mids and the upper sort of the low highs to come out. What I'm hearing in my head with this though is we want some solid mid range on this bass. Let's hear where it's. Oh, here we're. That's where we. And I've talked a bit before about soloing tracks and how you don't want to use, while you're soloed, you don't want to be aiming for a good sound. You want to be aiming for a sound that the mix that's going to sit well. Like when I soloed those guitars, I was telling you, well, this is a good guitar sound, knowing that I'm going to chop frequencies out of it later to make it fit better, to get a more usable guitar sound instead of just a good one. Bass is sort of the exception because it's so fundamental to the sound. You want to make sure that your bass sound is something that you want the other guys to sort of work around your bass more so than you do just about any other instrument. Okay, so we got those. Now the vocals, let's see. So let's real quickly, let's just adjust these guitars. Like I said, I know I'm going to need to. And we saw the bass here. We saw where its EQ was real happy right in this range, and then we boosted a little bit here. So when we look at the guitars, what we need to do is kind of make a little room for that. And see, like all this right here, now that's some aggressive filtering. When I've recorded from an amp, I've found you don't need as much when you're recording real world guitars, an actual speaker with a microphone. I notice it seems like it plays a little nicer when you get it into the track than when you're working with a virtual amp. It seems like the virtual sometimes has a little more bottom down here happening. It's not always true, but it's something that I do notice often enough to mention it. So let's take a look at this other one. Now, by themselves, those are not wonderful. Like I said, they sounded great before I cut all the bottom out of them. But remember, they've got to work around. Let's link these guys.
Headed out for.
Woo! There's some hot vocals. You know, I don't want to mess up the vocals. Glenn's voice is so good on these. But I do need to do some stuff with them. And I don't know if he's intended these to be comps where we've got 1 and 2, and then 3 and then 4. It looks like 3 and 4 are almost certainly harmonies. Yeah. And then 1 and 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1 and 2 and treat them similarly to the guitars. Let's take a look at this. It sounds like his recording, I'm not going to need to do a lot of work with it. If we take a look at this thing in the EQ, I'm going to bring the panner, or bring the fader down a little bit.
What happened upon this shop?
And he's got a really good sound just straight out of the microphone. I'm going to, again, cut some lows, but
What happened upon this shop?
in this case, he's not actually singing anything down here. These are just sort of frequencies that I'm not, that are going to, you won't notice them going away from his, like taking away from the vocal. They're just adding more numbers down here. And Glenn confirms 3 and 4 harmonies. Yeah. Good. So these frequencies down here, he's singing notes where the fundamental is around 200-ish. So cutting off that stuff down here, what did it ultimately end up at? He's got a great tone on this coming straight off of the microphone, so I don't anticipate doing much work in here. All I'm doing is just making it so that the math is nice when we get down at the bottom. All of this, you don't hear it, but when you're dealing with digital audio, all of that stuff will add up until eventually you're clipping and you're listening to it and you're like, why is it clipping down here at the low end, even though I don't hear much happening in the low end? Now, an interesting thing with Cubase, let's gang these two. For some reason, when you copy the EQ, it doesn't get the low cut filter for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't, the pre EQ here, it just doesn't care about that. So anyway, let's take these all up to about 100. We're going to do the same thing on vocal 3. And then we're going to do the same thing on vocal 4. And like I said, all this is doing is just making it so that we don't run into clipping with frequencies that we don't hear, because that sucks. When you're hammering your output and you're like, I'm not even hearing anything. It's the old classic thing where you have a band playing and somebody's like, turn up the bass. And you're like, I can't, it's clipping. Until you start adding some compression on it, or you find something else to get out of its way, you're going to hit that low end super hard, and it's hard to turn up the bass or turn up the kick drum or whatever you're wanting to turn up. So I do want to come up here now, and let's go to not our inserts, but our sends. And I'm going to send this. RoomWorks is just the default reverb that comes with Cubase. And I'm just going to use one channel here just to kind of get an idea how much depth it's adding. I may add delay, but like I'm probably going to turn most of this stuff off, and all I'll probably do is leave the EQ on. That way Tanner and Ty can add whatever sort of magic they want. Mainly here, I just want it to have a good working mix so that when I start adding other instruments, I'm not making bad decisions. I want to have the full sort of general sound taken into account. And what I could do, depending on what I was doing, like I'm doing what we have homework that we are assigned that we give, and my job here is to sweeten this track. And what that means is I'm going to be not doing full arranging because the song already has that, but I'm going to be adding lots and lots of instruments. If my homework was, Sean, play a guitar solo, it goes there, it looks like, and I would just work with this demo and not even import these other tracks. But I'm doing a little more work on it than that, but not as much work as I do when I'm doing like I did with Irma, for example, where I started from samples, and with the last one, the 8 grit, where I started from a MIDI file. No, Glenn, your tracks are not total garbage. They're fantastic. They're going to work great, especially the vocals in particular sound really good. So let's look. That's nice.
Happened upon this shop, stepped inside to see what's in stock.
Not so much of that. Let's see what we got.
Truth is I'm new in town, and I know how that must sound. So pardon me as I browse around.
I'm going to add a little compression.
A little old lady who was in charge of the place, she said take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy when you find something that has some appeal.
There we go. We're just going to add a little compression. The threshold, when people are talking about compression, don't worry too much about whatever numbers they throw out for the threshold, because that's going to be extremely dependent on the level of the recording. So when somebody's like, oh yeah, I added, a 2-to-1 compression at -12, the 2-to-1 is important. Like how hard are we cutting that thing down? How much are we compressing as it passes the threshold? But the threshold, you really have to just adjust with the track. There's no way around that. Cubase's built-in strip compressor defaults to about -20, or to exactly -20. And notice his loud notes there. All I'm really looking for,
Stepped inside to see what's in stock.
I want a little heavier compression, but all I'm really after is just getting those loud notes so that they don't pop way up over.
And I know how that must.
We're almost more peak limiting than actually compressing. So now I can take this and we can paste it onto the others so that they've got the same sends. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the harmonies a little more reverb and a little more delay, because it's kind of neat to hear them do that. I'm also going to pan these two guys to -50 and 50. And the reason I'm doing that is these are doubled. And if we pan them straight up the center, it'll sound okay, but it'll sound nice and wide if we pan them out a little bit. And then I'm also going to pan the harmonies, but I'm actually going to pan them a little closer to the center. Let's see here. So yeah, let's copy the compression. This is one of those things, it's really nice to be able to just copy and paste your settings like this. You will sometimes, depending on what you're on the tracks, these are 4 vocal tracks. I just copied the compressor from the bass. Okay, let's copy that one there. No, I got the right setting. They're just very similar. Okay, what I was saying, it's just nice to be able to just copy and paste those. These are 4 tracks sung by the same guy on probably the same day, definitely through the same microphone at the same settings. So yeah, it's sort of to be expected that you're going to be able to get away with a little bit of this and then just sort of tweak. Like I said, I tweaked the echo and tweaked the reverb to be a little different. So I'm going to gang the harmonies for now so that the volume on those is at the same spot. And we're going to pan these to about 30 and 30. Again, panning, you almost, there's a school of thought where you just do nothing but left, right, and center. I tend to think, for the most part, I try to pan things center, 25, 50, and 100%. If you're sitting there wiggling the pan pot around more than that, you're almost definitely wasting your time. What you really want to start working with is using a digital delay to make the sound come out of one speaker first and then the other. Because when you start nudging that pan pot and you're like, oh, I have this instrument at 30 and this instrument at 35 and this instrument at 40 and this instrument at 43, that subtlety is going to be lost in any listening environment that isn't clinical. Don't waste your time doing that. Do something more useful with your time. If you really want to create that illusion of space, use echo to do that. If you're trying to just glue together 4 vocal harmonies, that's probably overkill anyway. So let's listen to these guys. They're probably going to be fantastic right out of the gate.
Lady who was in charge of the place, she said, take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy when you find something that has some appeal.
Now, if I were doing the final mix on this, I would probably give them a little more treatment. What I might do is run them through, and you know what? I might do that anyway. I would probably take those 4 tracks and send them to a bus, and probably add a little bit of dirt to them just to kind of warm them up and soften up the highs. For our purposes, I don't really need to get into that level of detail right now. So let's get rid of the soloing, and let's hear how everything is sounding together. In my head, these frequencies are lining up pretty nicely. Let's see if my previs, as it were, in my head is good.
Who was in charge of the place? She said, take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy when you find something that has some appeal. I'll make you a deal.
Yeah, and because Harmony 3 and Harmony 4, Harmony 1 and 2 really, because those aren't always happening together, I don't want to pan them super far out, but that'll make a nice interesting sound where they're at now.
Lady who was in charge of the place, she said, take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy when you find something that...
There's a little bit of a clash that I've created between the guitars and the vocals, so I'm going to have to address some of that. I think we want less reverb in general. I think that will help.
Lady who was in charge of the place, she said, take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy when you find something that has some appeal. I'll make you a deal.
All right, that's working. Okay, so let's see here. This is where it's going to get weird. I'll have to stop talking, but I want to get down here. And I'm going to do a pair of egg shakers. I know that I want to get that. Let's record that.
And I know how that little old lady
I'm going to record them over that. And I'm intentionally only going to record this over one thing so I can copy paste it in different places. Okay, so what I have to do though is I have to kill the speakers, of course. And I'm going to have to move my microphone input. Okay, so now, all right, I hear that, and okay, you guys can still hear it coming out of OBS, right? But now it's not coming out of where it was coming from. So let's see if Cubase is seeing the microphone. This might be easier than I thought it was going to be, but it was really giving me fits earlier. Check, and there's nothing at all in Cubase right now, because of course there isn't. Why is nothing coming through? Why is that one coming through? Oh, I think I know. Excuse me while I learn how to use my gear in front of everybody. It's one of my pet peeves is when I go to a show and people have no idea how their gear works. So I'm gonna do that now. Is what's gonna happen. It looks like muted, but it's going. Oh, it's that off to B2, and I'll bet Cubase will see it now. The thing I really am looking for is to not have those be in the way, because I've got some compression and gating. Oh, look, Cubase sees it now. So Cubase is now seeing the microphone unprocessed. That's nice, because that means it'll see my guitar amp too. Okay, and the other one is off. Okay, cool. So now we can record some shaker. And I got speakers down.
A little old lady who was in charge of the place. She said, "Take your time."
Yes, that's gonna work perfectly.
A little old lady who was in charge of the place. She said, "Take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy. When you find something that has some appeal, I'll make you a deal."
Okay, and let's just do that again.
A little old lady who was in charge of the place. She said, "Take your time, however long."
That was awful.
A little old lady who was in charge of the place. She said, "Take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy. When you find something that has some appeal, I'll make you a deal."
Okay, I don't like either of those. This is where it's painful. I think the first one I just messed up a little bit. Let's try it again.
A little old lady who was in charge of the place. She said, "Take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy. When you find something that has some appeal, I'll make you a deal."
Okay, that was better. And we'll do another one.
A little old lady who was in charge of the place. She said, "Take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy. When you find something that has some appeal, I'll make you a deal."
There we go. So we've got some shakers there. And I think... All right, let's move the mic back over. Okay, so now we can go back to speakers. I just wanted to get those shakers in because I knew I could do it quickly. And hopefully, let me check in over here. I hear you anyway. Good. I do the same thing all the time. Why isn't this working during sessions? Yes, every time. Usually 10 seconds before I'm ready to hit the start stream button is when stuff decides it needs to not work. Oh, hey, what's going on there? I tried to control save in the Twitch chat. That didn't work. Okay, let's come back over here. Let's add instrument track. I'm going to add, I think, let's go with the MT Power Drums. And let's just find a couple of default grooves here. So I'm going to probably replace these with real drums. It's interesting that that's making no sound now. It's making sound for you guys. Now I hear it. Okay. Let's see here. So what I want to do is go to grooves, and I'm going to grab, let's move this here. Let's look here. Nope. 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 Well, that's much too aggressive. So yeah, let's talk about creating grooves and stuff. I usually, what I would do with this is I would just play the drums in, but I know I'm going to replace this and I just want to get it done quick and dirty. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing this groove 13 and I'm going to grab a fill from it and I'm just dragging them onto this timeline here. What's this fill? Oh, I like that. So what I can do now with this is take this groove and just drag it to right here. And now all right, so I like that groove. Now let's delete these. Let's do this again with a couple. And what I'll do is, this is just a quick and dirty drum part. You notice when we got to that measure about 8 or 9, it started. You could tell like the drummer should be doing some tom action there. So I will change that. This is just going to be a generic groove to fit over things. Let's see what other, let's do a simpler fills. Oh no, I want, so notice that's a little more, that's a very similar groove, but it's got a little more going on. And I may use that on another verse. But all right, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do Let's try that groove, that 14. Of course, it's all going to be different if I decide to play live drums. Who knows? I could keep these. But you just... So we're going to get a little more aggressive groove. And I've brought up MT Power Drum before, and like I said, each one of these grooves, all of these fills change also every time you change grooves. Because each one of these fills takes the groove that you're working with and then escalates. Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a great fill to get us into a chorus, which I believe is going to happen. And I love that this is all MIDI as well, so I can go through and edit it to be whatever I want. I'm not stuck with their groove, because it's pretty rare that you find a groove that you're like, oh, I wrote the song already, and this groove perfectly encapsulates everything that I need the drums to do. It just doesn't happen. You know, you're gonna need to modify some things. Glenn says this song is about the first record store he found in Spokane, which is sadly now closed down. Not Spokane, but the record store. The town is still there, right? Spokane's still there, right? No, I think it is. Okay, so here... we don't want echo on our shaker, but we do want some ambiance. Add that. Not so much ambiance. Let's move that down. Minus 13 is probably about right for those. Another thing, Grammar Club, we're big on mixing a lot of acoustic and synthetic elements. It's something that I learned in college from my first electronic music teacher, back when we were using Macintoshes with like 250 megahertz processors. Is when you're using MIDI and synthesized instruments, it's amazing how much just adding one or two real instruments will really help to sell the illusion. So if you take something where you've got fake drums or you've got fake horns, if you can come in and then add a real shaker, or you can come in and add a real snare drum or real cymbals, you just come in and add one real element, it makes a big difference in selling the fake instruments. So remember that when you're trying to get, you know, a big orchestral sound or something, if you can get one or two live players in, it really, really does help, because your ear hears the little nuances and things that they do with their fingers that aren't always captured, or modern day, because this is 20 years later, take a lot of sequencing, because sequencing is no longer just putting in notes. There are lots of articulation you can do now. The things that players do naturally, if you can have one or two acting as your lead, it really helps fill things out. So live shakers in this case. Let's see here. I want a 16th groove. I think let's look and see what we've got here. I may, like, my initial thought was, and we're using this 8th note closed hi-hat grooves. I was thinking 16th notes, but I don't think so. I think we want a ride. Probably not a crash ride, but just a regular old ride. Let's listen to how he changes his groove here. So this is one of those things, like, you hear that in an instant, it needs 16th notes. It has to have 16th notes there. It's just that kind of song. This is, like, in my head, I hear him singing there, and it's that's got to be in there. And you could add that with the hi-hats, but sometimes it's nice to add that on something else and leave the ride doing eighths. Let's listen to what the kick and snare need to be doing. So he's walking eighth notes. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, and it does need more automaton. Glenn is telling me to spice up his track with automaton, and that could happen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is for the first half of this, it's going to be fairly simple, and then it's going to get a lot more complicated. So let's look at this. So that's about as straightforward a groove as you get. That's too simple. No, I don't want it to leave one out. Good, it doesn't have it on every one of them. Perfect. So that's our first 4 bars. This is 16 long, so let's get this. Nice. Now, what we need for our next 8 bars is much more complicated. Let's get some snare ghost. No. There we go. No, that's better. All snares. Oh no! I only needed half as much as I made. There's an easy solution to this. We just drag that half over and bring it, and then we drag the other half back. And look at that. It's like I knew what I was doing the whole time. Nope, I hate it. Okay, so let's come back. And we don't need this at all. There we go. And this groove was close to what we're after, but we need to reposition things. It needs befores rather than afters, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. We don't need this after. So our basic groove is just rock backbeat. The way I tend to think of rhythms is I have on, off, before, and after, basically. We have kick, snare, kick, snare. We want this to be an anticipation. Now notice here we have this one coming after. So we've got on, before, before, after. So what we've done is we've created an expectation and then subverted it. This needs to not be 2 snares or that's 2 floor toms. What am I talking about? That needs to be another thing. When you're sequencing drums, pretend it's a real kit. Like, think about what drums you have access to, and all of these pre-made grooves were very well thought out. They're all playable grooves, and that's part of why I like this kit. But think about what kind of kit am I using for this song? This is not the kind of track where you have the Neil Peart giant 20-piece kit or the Mike Portnoy setup. This is the kind of song where you have 2 toms and a crash and a splash cymbal. You don't want to go overboard having a whole bunch of drums in a song that's like this is. It's not that kind of a song. If you showed up to a show and you saw a band playing the song and the drummer had 15 toms, you'd be like, why? Like, what are you doing with those? Why did you wasted your time dragging all those out? So make it a point to only use 1 or 2 when you're sequencing. Just because you have all of those doesn't mean you have to hit every drum every song. And notice how now, instead of being tucka tucka, it's tucka boom. And that fits that spot much better. And so we've got this little hit here just to kind of start building, and then it has that, and then you have, notice that. And this is a thing that you don't see people sequence that much. Look at this. Think about what the drummer did. And then he hit both cymbals at the same time. Because of course drummers do that sort of thing. It's fun. You hit 2 cymbals. So when you're sequencing things, think about that. You might want to smash 2 cymbals at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. Now this end part, we've got this super big snare escalation. And notice what we've got is this tucka tucka bomb, and it's going to switch back to that much more sparse groove. And I'm just going to copy and paste it here because that will give us a nice fast bed. Now notice there's a lot going on in that, and I kind of want, yeah, back here we got a simpler. Yeah, I just copy and pasted the wrong one. Let's copy and paste the sparse version of that and then make it even more sparse. This is another thing you can do. Generally, people think of when you're arranging that you're going to have a this sort of start with this much and then have more and then more and then more. Move up and down, man. don't it's not just always a build. Sometimes you come down, and in this case what I'm going to do is take the already sparse version of that groove and I'm going to cut it down even more, just to make it tighten up. So the idea is to create width, and then also to come back. My friend Joe is asking sparse or sparks. There's no sparks kit in this, Joe, but you can create width as well as depth, and how much sort of stuff you have going on, your note frequency, can contribute to that. I might even take these hi-hats down to quarter notes. I'm probably going to keep them closed hi-hats. Let's see what we got here. So we don't need this. That's too much. Don't need that one either. Now, right here, we don't need that. I could have just moved that over. Okay, I like that back end, but I need to fix this front. That needs to be a snare. So we're gonna hit the snare early. That's gonna make it jump out. And then this needs to be accented. Yeah. We're gonna hit another crash right there. Maybe not. We'll just open the hi-hat. Okay, so then what we've got here is this little sparseness right there. And damn. We don't need that hit. That needs to be harder.
Blueprints of melodies, old sonic recipes.
Where the hi-hat needs to open up there, where does it happen?
Old sonic recipes.
Does this close right? Yeah, it closes, but I want it to hit harder. Some drums, it won't work. When I'm hitting that open hi-hat, what should happen, because what happens with a real hi-hat, when you hit the foot closed, it should clamp down and kill that sample. Notice how much cleaner that is when you hit that on. Notice if you look over here, you can see which keys I'm hitting, since you can't see my hands. When I hit the stick hit with the hi-hat, it's much cleaner. It's not as mushy. That's probably my only real complaint about this drum kit, is that it does that badly. I would like it when you smash that foot down, it should really cut that open sample. Okay, now that needs to be this again. So I'm just going to copy that. And we're not going crazy with syncopation or anything. We're just making it pop with the vocals. And okay. Let's just move that over. And this needs to be a big stomp. And listen, what I'm listening for is how it interplays between the vocals and the bass. There's sort of a common school of thought of the kick and the bass should really be hitting together all the time. But again, we create the expectation and then we subvert it. We don't always want it to hit with it. We want it to groove, which means playing with and off on purpose.
Blueprints of melodies, old sonic recipes. Good thing I charged my batteries.
Now, right there, these guys, move those up to, but we only need half of them, so we want to escalate that. Oh, get over here. It's quarter notes, so. You guys get up there too. We only need those. And I think we want a couple more kicks. Yes. There we go. And this one I feel like we can get. Let's nudge those up a little so they cut through. I'm going to go with that tom-tom is the one that I'm always going to pick, I think. There we go. Okay, so now we have where we could go with the second type of. So now we can do this busier, funkier groove. I will probably want to adjust this to, because it's a little too wacky with the bass, the way it interplays with the bass part.
And now I walk around
Maybe not.
with treasures I bought and found. Enveloped my ears, caressed with sound.
Open hi-hats right there is what I would do in real life. There's a C section coming up. That's gross, man. Glenn just told me there's a C section in this song. Some dark lyrical content. It's not really dark. I mean, both of my kids were born that way. There's nothing wrong with C sections. He probably means a bridge, I suspect. Yeah, so see how this escalates right here. We want that to happen a little sooner. So I want to crash here. And then I'm going to grab these guys and drag them up to the open. I'm going to delete these. And let's see what we get here. That's not a crash. So here's the question now. Do we go up to the opens? Down to the F? That's going to happen later, but it doesn't work well right there. Yeah, and Glenn is talking to me in the chat right now. He's saying he's confirming instrumental bridge for a solo, a beefy, or other similarly awesome thing. That's a secret of the Grammar Club also, is that guitar solos and rap verses are interchangeable. If you have a break, you can do either of the things. Let's just take these right here. In fact, let's just tighten up these. Tightening them up like the graphics on level 3. It's only old people get that joke. Let's get that one as well, because we want this shaker. And right now we're just getting, like I said, I'm sort of what's the word, sweetening this, adding parts. I'll do 2 sessions of this. I'll do another one either tomorrow or Saturday probably. And I may do the live drums, I may not, it depends. I don't feel like I'm going to use this kit. Another nice thing, since it's MIDI, I can use a different drum kit and just have this part played on whatever kit I want. Right there, I didn't do it on the last one, and I may not, but he changes the vocals here. And here there's a new chord change. Hear that? We need to draw attention and sort of push that. I feel like we can do that for that whole part and then just sort of tame it a little bit. We'll just crash ride our way through that. And then I'm going to take those and let's take the first bunch of them and let's hear how that sounds, because usually when you're doing this 1 and 2, when you do that on crash samples, sometimes they cut each other off. They don't sound good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the first set is going to come down here. And then, oh, oops. I got one more than I needed. Let's put you back up here. Okay, so that's going to go there, and then I'm going to change cymbals on this last one back to our other one, so that it's not just smash, smash, smash the same thing over and over again. I'm also going to get rid of half of the notes because you're only really hearing the quarter notes anyway. There's no need for all those eighth notes. Yes, you be gone. Okay, these seem like Glenn. I'm going to do a thing that Glenn doesn't do that I do. Right there. Through the magic of editing, we're going to do something. Here's the question. B flat. There are two ways to really accent the introduction of a new section. If you ever watch the bonus features of Lord of the Rings, I think the Two Towers is where they talk about it. A good way to really accent a big thing, especially when you've had lots of big things before it, is to have nothing. The thing that makes something seem big or loud or punchy is contrast. And there's no bigger contrast than going from silence to everything. So notice his vocals cut off right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chop up these bits here, right there after that note. Yes, and the bottom drops out. This is what Glenn says in the chat. And all we got to do here is just drag these over. So I just used my scissors to cut that into 2 samples now. He says he does not do it often, but he does it sometimes. You did it here. Yes, that works. Yeah, I like. And there's room for beefy section if he wants it, definitely. There's always room for a beefy section. If there wasn't, we would just copy and paste some stuff and move it around. Beefy says he does and he will. I didn't realize Beefy was in the chat. He's in there now. Hi guys, look, you're on the stream. So let's see here. Now I need to hear this part here and see what this the bridge. Okay, I'm gonna have to program those drums. Those need that has more specific needs than what I'm gonna find. Okay. And it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be ride. It may end up being crash rides. We'll see what happens. Okay, so very important in Cubase, you click the step input. Remember to click where the blue line goes, Sean. I guarantee if you watch me stream this stuff enough, you will catch me forgetting to put the blue line where it goes. There's a variation on those stops the second time through. Excellent. Okay, so then let's give me some 16th notes. And what happens here? Do, 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 da, do, 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 do. Oh. Oh, I'm still on 16th notes. Derp. It's like, wow, did I miscount the entire song? Oh, I hit you harder than that. Bam. Oops. Hey, remember that thing about the blue line? Remember to put the blue line where it goes. And we want that to be okay, and Glenn says the second time is different. So let's take this and we'll paste it and then look for the bit that's different and fix it up. Oh, there are more. Oh, hang on. Are the bass and guitar supposed to offset each other like that? I suspect that they are. I'm sure if he didn't want it to do that, he would have just played it again. Okay, so let's come back here. Second time I'm going to put a tom right there. I got to remember to do that. That doesn't need to be so big. Let's get our thing here and let's see. I think we're going to ride through that. So and I think it's going to be quarters. So, oops. Do we need a crash here? We need to not have that hit. Can't do that. We only need one of those. Do taka taka. Don't need that. There we go. And let's come over here. The next section is going to be similar, but bell. I see. So we got more hits right here. And then what happens is this back to the chorus. Come back here. No, you get back here. The blue one was actually fine that time. Okay, so let's see. I need to turn that off and find the bell. Okay, so we want my crash. That's my choke is the B flat. That's a splash. I don't want that. Get out of the way, headphones. Where's the second crash? Don't want that. We'll just use this crash and find it later. Okay, so back to step recording. The beauty of step recording, for those who aren't aware, is that you can get away with doing stuff like this. And now all the parts there. And do I like this tom right here that I meant to put in there? Or do I not? And here, I want these guys, give me 16ths. I want these snare. Can't hit all those things at the same time. Boy, those are not enough. The bell should be louder. Taka. Oh, Glenn got himself a plaid guitar. Excited to get home. I'd be excited about a plaid guitar too. I don't like that one this time. I like a hit there, but it sounds like the drummer messed up. Let's take these and let's put them right here again. And let's stick a kick drum right there. And let's leave the kick off of these so that the other ones are bigger. I'm not sure how I feel about that bass hit there. I wonder if we leave that off and just let the guitars have it. I know what to do about that. Where's the other crash? It's the A. Okay. It needs to be a ping. I'm going to leave it like that for now. You may get changed later. Let's see how it sounds when we put the chorus guitars back in there. And we're going to get back to this, probably this set of chorus guitars, I imagine. Oh no, not that set of chorus guitars. Never go that way. You go that way, you end up right at that castle.
And now I walk around.
He was thinking snare kick, snare kick. Huh. Let's see that. I think what I might want to do then, let's try that on the first one. Let's okay, yeah, let's do that. And yeah, let's stick that tom back in there. Yeah, there we go. And then for the next, I'm glad you said that, Glenn. So then what we can do is for these two, we do that same thing. And then for the next ones, we mix it up. That's way better than what I did originally. So we get... I think I don't love that now that we've got other things happening. We put these guys back here. Yeah. So we get that ba gong, gong, ba bum, ba bum. There we go. That's working. That's much better. Okay. Chorus. We need the first chorus section here. Let's take that. Oh, might as well grab my shakers while I'm at it. What am I thinking? Let's go back to the whole measures there, and then we'll paste that in. And what do we got next? Same thing. Okay, so that one needs to be different. Copy, copy, paste over here. You're very welcome. I love doing all this work. And we want to do that again right there.
Who was in charge of the place? She said, take your...
That's the bridge. That's a good way to end. Let's take that and put it over here. I wonder, since they're in, there you go. Then we'll knife these up a little. Pull that back. And back from there too. And we move these two here. Bump. And we no longer need that hit. Excellent. There we go.
Who was in charge of the place? She said, take your time, however long that it takes.
I love that however long it takes, that it sounds like it's a stutter, but it's not. So it's like it hits you and you're like, what? And then you figure out what he said.
Your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy. When you find something that has some appeal, I'll make you a deal.
This is going to be different. There. Let's hear the run up. Don't need that. I may not need any of those. There's one spot where it's still there. I want that, but I want it there. Yeah, and I don't need this fill here. We can just take this quarter note right there, and we get rid of those and paste the new one. I want this to... Just you. Thank you. And we're going to need to add a foot plop right there. Now we're back on the ride cymbal. Glenn's asking me to remix another song. Put it up there. I'll do it. I would love him and hate him for it. I want to see. This chorus, it needs a part. I believe it needs this part. Because, yeah, this is where we escalate on this. Okay, so let's detail this little bit here, because I noticed it that time. That's the end of that note. Let's fade that in so we get the beginning of this note. Same thing here, and same thing here. Zoom way back out. Let's hear how that sounds not coming back in. I need to hear guitars and basses. Hello guitars, hello basses. Why am I holding control? That's really dumb. That's better. We're going to do the same thing on these where they cut off. Okay, it needs to cut off actually right there. Slightly earlier than it was. These two guys here need to come out. What are they? Where is he strum? That's the strum. Okay. Let's take that down. Now it sounds like he didn't strum. That's what we wanted. There it is. Don't like it. Plunk. Okay. But I do want this chorus part right here. Give me back my Quantize. Go back to there and paste. Okay, so we want that. And I feel like little old lady should be like a blickum blickum. Okay, I think maybe we want these, because this is the, okay, this is the, yeah, we can bring these guys down to, we can leave those there. And notice the drums are doing the thing like I described earlier where you hit two cymbals there. That's... Do we Dave Grohl this? Maybe. Let's hear that in context. No. We just blick them. We don't need the... Oh, why did I hit that button? That's not what I wanted at all. We just want to daka, 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 daka. Now we're getting that. There we go. When you're doing this sort of thing, it helps to be able to visualize, sort of auralize, you know, what's happening around. Because if I had to sit and listen to the whole thing to get context every single time, it would take forever. Jake Kaufman Vert is a master of that. He makes me look like a moron, because he'll hit play and put 5 notes in, because he has the whole thing in his head. I'm not that good, but like I said, if you're trying to do this, it helps to practice imagining the sound without having to actually listen to every measure over and over again. So now we've got both. Yeah. Is there still a chorus that's missing stuff? No? Everything has everything? All right. Okay, so we're going to get to do my favorite new thing, my favorite new toy that I just got. And actually, this... It needs tremolo, and I'm not going to use my favorite new toy, which is Velvet. I'm going to use maybe Expand. I think Expand is going to have the thing I want. I was thinking of adding a Rhodes to this. It needs... and it doesn't need it everywhere, but like here we want to leave it fairly sparse. When we come in with the next part we want to build, what it's missing is some lower mid-range fundamental note frequency. We've got the bass with these lows, and we added some mids to get some action going on there with the groove. But you listen to the bass and then the guitars. And I was thinking Rhodes might sit nicely in there to fill that in, but it's not Rhodes, it's Hammond that needs to happen there, and it needs to be grindy and dirty and have fast tremolo. Glenn says it's always whirly with it. I can see that, yeah. Yeah, I like whirlies, but for me it's usually going to be Hammond or Rhodes or Square Wave. Yeah, this could use a Wurlitzer. Yeah, that's a thing I've said more than once. Okay, so let's look. Where am I? I should really E pianos and clav. What I'm looking for is definitely not a CP. No. What I'm looking is for something with the word grind in it. let's see. Tremolo suitcase. You know what? That might actually, let's see what that. That's got potential. Mod wheel is tremolo depth. I think the depth is fine, but I feel like we need that's closer. Okay, so let's see what we got here. We got a bum bum. So are we? That's a sus4 chord. So I know we've got. Oh man. So it's F B then. And then we got the E on top. If we take that and we have our F sharp in the. Okay, so we got. I want the. I think I just want to do power chords on the organ. Okay, I gotta. My mic's in the way of. Yeah, I could do it. So it's the F sharp with the B. Yeah. That sound isn't working. I need. Let's get back to electronic piano. Oh, let's go to organs. There we go. Yeah, let's do huge cathedral organ. It'll be perfect. Dirty 70s. Paler shade of white. I wonder what that sounds like. I feel like Dirty 70s is going to be the way to go. We got the F sharp. Yeah. And if we just do power chords. Yeah, we don't need all those notes. There we go. Oh, you have a mini Moog, Glenn? I love those. I use a fake one all the time, but I would use a real one if I had it. Okay, so let's undo the soloing here. Okay, so let's back up. And I think I don't need all, like I said, I don't need all of those notes that I was playing. We just need eighth notes here. Let's get some click. Actually, let's not get some click. That's terrible. Little trick. You just add some drums here and get the thing here, and then we go, whoa, what are we doing? Why are we there? Okay. Then we do that, and then we just stomp. Stomp, 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 stomp. Oh, not there. There we go. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Let's just go with this and see what happens. Is my auto quantize turned on? Auto quantize. Look, that's going to make it sound like I know how to play piano and stuff. Let's get that. No, that's not doing it at all. I may need to guitar that. Because if I hit, maybe I just need to change the octave. It needs to be dirtier. It needs to be gross sounding. This, and that seems like it is. Like that seems like it's working. I want that to go farther. And we got that F sharp with a B. Maybe if we do it down an octave from that. Yeah, I'm gonna guitar that, I think. It's gonna be like a super inappropriate high gain guitar, but it'll blend in nicely. Okay, so let's maybe synth buzz. That might be when we get here.
Truth is I'm new in town. Not the little old lady who was in charge of.
Alright, so let's going 1/6 something. We'll see if this works where you can hear me. Okay, you can probably hear me, but I can't. Maybe if I send that. Yeah. Now I can hear myself. Oh god, there's so much lag. Too much latency to work with that. Yeah, I won't be able to record that way, but let's see here. Let's see if I just hit just these low ones. Oh, it's so hard to do anything. Yeah, what I'm using now, the sound that you're hearing is, I've got a PV Valve King. Let's just do this. This will be good. This will be super pro is what this is. Okay, so. So what you're hearing is that. You can hopefully see that okay. And it has a speaker defeat on it, and it has a built-in cab simulator. And so I have that running into my interface. And if you looked at those settings, you'll notice that the gain was only on about 1.5, but the volume is cranked. The nice thing about this particular amp is it puts the speaker simulation after the power amp. So I've got this thing cranked down to 1 watt. It lets you do 1, 5, or 20. So I've got it cranked down to 1 watt with the volume just jacked up. So it's really, really hammering the power tubes hard. So So you're hearing that nice power section breaking up. So anyway, let's look here. I'm about out of time for the day actually, but let's see if we can't make something happen with this chorus. It looks like it's a D chord and then a B. So is that a B major that you played there? There's some juicy chords you got going on there. Some density. I'm not totally sure that's a D chord. It's a, it starts with a B minor 7. Okay. I was hearing that B minor 7 is a D. Gosh, so where's it go after that? Okay, so I was hearing, but it's really... No, so man, that's a nice little thing. It could have like this. These are gonna be terrible sounding, but I want to remember them for next time. Let's just RG that. So what I'm gonna do is we get. Okay, now right there it changes. I need to know what it does there. Here's a little cheaty trick for those of you who watch these things. Maybe try D, E, E, F sharp. Yeah, that's B minor, E, E, F sharp, I think. But yeah, those. So let's. It's a G. thought that's what happened, is it went down a half step there. And then the B minor 7. Okay, so let's turn off the loop. So we've got this. Okay, so I'm going to do the first half of that. Let's get the drums back in there. So yeah, there it is. There's the track. Okay, I don't want the vocals right now. Okay, so there I want to go to the D, I think. Oh, do you resolve the suspension? You do, okay. It would be bad if only one of us did. Okay, so let's take a shot at that. I should have checked levels and stuff before. Okay, they look good. I want the bridge pickup. Oh, hey, what is all that noise? Is all that noise happening like when I'm not playing? Is it like let me just record and let me hear that. Oh, that would be the microphone. It's got to be picking that up. Okay, so I got to do this real quick. Okay, we can have a mic back now. So that took a while. All right, so let's get this solo sorted out here. Let's undo the solos here. A little lead break. Oh, I came in at the wrong spot here. Oh no, I came in like exactly in the right spot. Okay. Let's trim that up. I like to do things in sections whenever possible. So I try not to. There we go. I try not to do punch-ins where it's like, oh, you just couldn't do the part unless I absolutely have to. Usually I'd rather just play the part and have it sound smoother. Let's see what we got here. That works. Then down here, on the first take, I just blew that slide down from the first note. Let's listen to that. that didn't work. So I just really need that. Let's hear. See, there we go. That's all better. Yeah, if something is super, super difficult, like anything that George Novick has arranged, that sort of thing, yeah, I'll punch in every measure if I have to. But for things like this, you know, there's no excuse not to just give it a few shots until you can get it down. Now, this is one of those things that it's important when you're working at home and like the only person waiting on you is yourself. You know, learn the song as you go. Take as much time as you need. If you're going into a studio with a band, like, learn your stuff, man. if you're paying $300 an hour or whatever, even if you're only paying $30 an hour, like, know your song before you get in there. But for this sort of thing, you know, I'm learning it as I go. So let's do these. I purposely haven't played through these yet because I wanted to kind of discuss them as we went. I need to get some of this action going on. I want to hear just those RGs that I just recorded. Now, notice that the amp does not have any reverb on it. The speaker sim does have room ambiance a little bit, but not a lot. So we're going to add a little bit of that. Don't think I'm going to add any delay on those. This needs to be called lead. Lead. Let me show you guys another quick thing real quick. So if I click here on media and I do this open pool window, that's going to show me all of the audio that is used in the project. And notice there's some that's really long and some of these that are really short. And then if you look in the trash here, these are all those takes that I deleted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go media and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do remove unused media. And we'll do it to move it to trash. So any media files that have been recorded that I'm not using are going to get put in the trash. And I'm going to do media and empty trash. And erase from the hard drive. This is how you keep your project files clean so that you don't end up with hundreds and hundreds of like little 1 megabyte files just taking up all kinds of space. Make sure that you are absolutely certain you don't want any of those files. Presumably you trashed them for a reason, but you know, do make sure ahead of time before you delete. Like I know 100% I don't need any of those. So it's not a big deal for me to delete them. And let's see. Okay, let's come over to our EQ, and again, these don't need to be hogging up the bass frequencies. So let's just, everything from about here down we can kind of lose. There you go. And that's kind of thin sounding, but it's fine. It's not the solo. The lead track we won't cut as much off of probably. Let's get some echo on that one. Now these two tracks here, we're going to gang those so that we can adjust them together. Now, that little click was just from the loop. Now let's hear those with Glenn's guitars. And I'm going to pan these more. I'm going to do these 50. So if we're thinking of our, center, then maybe 2 spots on each side. Okay, now let's look over here. Now, if I want my guitars in there, I can copy and paste them in, but I probably don't right here. This is going to be, I've got a lead part. We may put a rap break in there as well. It's hard to say what will happen down the road. But let's go ahead and get this lead. I feel like I want this lead to be a little trippier, and I think the correct way to do that is almost always going to be a phaser. Oh no, not that one. No, I clicked the wrong one. I don't want the Melda phaser. Just give me just the good old default Cubase phaser. That's good enough. Okay. Okay, let's go back and listen to this thing, so I'm going to have to call it a day. But let's get the context of just listening to this whole thing. 3, 4.
Stepped
Okay, so there is one more thing I'm going to do here. So I talked about the empty power drum. This drum set has been sort of pre-mixed in order to cut through well, and it does, and it works great in a lot of circumstances, but I'm not feeling especially that really overly punchy kick. If you have a sub, you're hearing that thing woof really hard at you as well, but it's got a lot of like brightness. Let's look at if we see, there's a lot going on there. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got the drum track programmed, is we're just going to change that. And I'm going to go to Groove Agent 1. Or am I? I think I'm actually going to go not to Groove Agent 1 once it loads. It's taking it forever. Don't crash on me, Cubase. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saved because I'm compulsive, but... Hopefully Cubase isn't going to decide that Groove Agent 1 needs to cause it to crash. Come on, Cubase, you can do it. This would be a good excuse to not use Groove Agent. Okay, well, let's see here. Yeah, that is locked up. Okay. Okay, so let's get Cubase back open again. Can show off some recovery features. That'll be fun, right? It should actually have backup files, even if you weren't a compulsive saver, but I'm a pretty compulsive saver, so probably not going to need the backup files. I can probably mute this thing now. All right, and we're back with Cubase again. Do recent projects, and we get our, oh yeah, and it, because of course it lost that. Cubase for some reason saves its recent file list on exit. So if if you crash it, you don't get your recent file list. All right, so everything is still there. Let's look here. For some reason, sometimes when you close and open files, this happens. Not sure why, but sometimes it just decides that these need to either go like super, super skinny or super, super wide. That's where I like them, because I like to have my numbers. Okay, so let's take this and change that to, I want Ailsean 1, and there's a specific kit that I have in mind. This is this beautiful baby kit. And I've used this on a couple things recently. Let's see what we get with this. Just the drums, please. Notice how that's much more, it's much more live room sounding than the MT Power Drum kit. It's much quieter as well, but that's no big deal. So let's hear that guy now. Let's take our We don't need those guys now.
Headed out for a walk, happened upon this shop, stepped inside to see what's in. Truth is I'm new in town, and I know how that must sound. So pardon me as I browse around. A little old lady who was in charge of the place, she said take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy when you find something that has some appeal. I'll make you a deal. Blueprints of melodies, old sonic recipes. Good thing I charged my batteries. And now I walk around with treasures I bought and found. Enveloped my ears, caressed with sound. A little old lady who was in charge of the place, she said take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy when you find something that has some appeal. I'll make you a deal.
I'm going to move this. Let's give me 16th notes here. You know, it's even easier to do than that. Hear how it sounds with the bass back with everybody else. I like it better that way. Sorry, Glenn. I'm moving your bass around.
of the place. She said, take your time, however long that it takes. There's no pressure to buy when you find something that has some appeal. I'll make you a deal.
Oh. Oh gosh. Okay, I gotta unplug this again. There's something.
Find something that has some appeal.
All right, I think that's going to do it for now. I'll probably add some more stuff in either tomorrow or Saturday. If I can, I will stream it. Just depends. I don't know. I'm pretty sold on this groove now with this drum kit. I wasn't sure about it when I was using the other one, but this kit sounds phenomenal with this. Especially, like I said, you take one thing that's fake and then you add in a live element. Then you add in, you get the bass going with that. All right. Well, I am going to call it a day for now. I am Ailsean from the Grammar Club, and I will see you later.